Hi everyone, and welcome to 3D Stories, the show where we interview businesses in 3D printing to see what makes them tick and the keys to their success. Today we're talking with Matt from Printago. They've got mad talent in the software and have been building an incredible solution for print farms. One that I actually personally can't wait to get to use in the next few weeks. Hi Matt, how are you?
I'm well, thanks for having me.
Let's start off a bit easy, on the off chance that not just nerds are going to watch this. If you had to explain Printago to someone out of the 3D printing world, how would you describe it?
So, sure, I end up doing this a lot with relatives and stuff like that. So, high level, Printago helps 3D printing businesses by automating repetitive, error-prone, and time-consuming tasks. If I put it in terms of a traditional print shop, for example, you can imagine maybe if you have one printer, an inkjet printer, and you start a business, this is pretty easy to manage, right? But, you load it with paper, put the ink in, call it a day. But if you imagine that print shop growing and offering a variety of paper types and sizes, raised ink, business cards, things like this, before you know it, they maybe have 10 printers and there's different ink and there's different things to load up. Orders come in faster, and it's very similar in 3D printing. So what we enable is orders to flow in to our software into Printago. They're added to the queue, and from there, that's it. That's all you have to worry about. We figure out which machine it needs to go to, which materials are loaded, and we send it to that printer when that printer is ready. So yeah, without going into a list of features just yet of the software, our main vision is to help folks start and grow their 3D printing business. Give them great software to use that solves problems that they need to solve to grow those businesses. And for businesses just getting started or experiencing growth, it can be very important to help them scale faster and skip some of the bad growing pains that they may have. So we allow them to concentrate on things like marketing, like refining designs to sell or opening up a new e-commerce store on TikTok or something like that, allowing them to be a business owner instead of a 3D printer operator. So That's pretty much what we're doing. Is that helpful?
This feels like the thing that I needed about 2 years ago when I tried to run a print farm. Since it's such a need, at least with the product as it is right now, how did it start? Like, did it start as an idea, or did you see the different company that wasn't working right? Or
So yeah, it's interesting you said, you could have used this a few years ago, because that's kind of how it started. My business partner, Noah, and I, we closed the sale of our consulting business, our software development consulting business that we had right before the COVID lockdown. And around that same exact time, I was already into 3D printing at that time, and my mom's doctor found a brain tumor and she had it removed. And then when we were all on lockdown, I started an Etsy store to sell cookie cutters. I put the printers at my folks' house. I sent the jobs remotely using some free software and stuff like that. And it helped her read the mirrored cookie cutters to help out her recovery. And then she packaged them up and sent them out. So that was kind of where it first started. But I started realizing as I was going through all this, that all the software that was out there didn't quite automate the things that I really needed automated that were taking time, because I was still working a 9 to 5 at that point. So I needed something to help me manage a fleet, a mixed queue of things across a lot of different printers. So that's kind of the genesis of where the idea came in. And then I would say, Printago, from there, it remained a vision for me in large of things that I wanted to be able to do. But it was when my business partner came on, my former business partner came on to this business, and we decided to do it together. That was really when we kind of kicked it into high gear and started making it a business and building features and adding stuff more quickly.
So basically you were your own first client.
Yep, that's right. Very much so. And that vision of kind of the core functionality really helped us get started and say, okay, we need to have this, this, and this, and this before we launch. And then we worried about those things before we added commercialization and things like that. Interestingly, though, I had at that time, there was 2 Prusa minis, making a few cookie cutters a day. Soon after we launched Printago, before we started charging for it, we had a user come in with like 200 printers. And he's like, hey guys, you want to know what kind of problems I have? He's like, I have even your software, for example, I have to go through and click this configuration thing, 200 times. That's really not very convenient. So we're like, yeah, right on. We'll just make it so you can apply the same configuration to all 200 of your P1S's or whatever it is.
This was before you even made any money out of it, right?
Yeah. So pretty much right away, we were listening to customers and trying to add these things, because we knew from our experience in enterprise software and building things that, the people using the software have to love it. They have to love it to be in it, because you want them to work in it, right? And this is very much it. Even though My business partner, Noah, does most of the development now. When we do screen shares, he'll watch me use the software and I'm bouncing around with keyboard shortcuts and I'm doing all these things. And he's excited. He's like, hot damn, you're really a user. You know, I'm like, yeah, right. We use it every day, right? So that being able to get in it that deep really helps us identify like, oh man, it'd be great if I didn't have to click these two buttons, or it'd be great if we could just do this all at once because I just spent an hour doing it. So those types of things continue to be very, very powerful for us. Drinking our own Kool-Aid or eating our own dog food, whatever colloquialism we like to use for it.
I'm just realizing having a first client with 200 printers, that has to be an achievement on its own.
Yeah, I wouldn't say he was the first client, but yeah, he was one of the very first ones. And that was like, we're like, whew, okay, welcome right to the big show. We didn't expect that, right?
That's how you know you're building the right thing, right?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
What would you put on a brag slide for Printago? Because this has to be up there.
Yeah. Having the clients with lots of printers. Yeah. I mean, those are big ones for sure. We love our customers and we love adding customers. And maybe before I talk about some of the technical stuff I'm proud of, I'll say like, you know, one thing that we're proud of is that we made a decision after we launched our billing, platform, our monetization, we backtracked to make it free for non-commercial users. So we're pretty proud of that our commitment is that if you're not selling stuff online, if you're a hobbyist user with 1 or 2 printers or 3, 4, 5 printers, if you're not making money, we don't want to make money on you. Come use our software, learn it. If it's useful, use the parts of it that are useful for you. Another thing that I think we're proud of is that when it comes to support, anybody can jump in our Discord and start asking us questions. We spend time with users and we don't gatekeep it at like, hey, are you paying? How much are you paying? How many printers do you have? Because we don't even have.
That is exactly how we got recommended to talk to you guys from the get-go.
That's great to hear, because we don't even have a way to formally connect a user in our system to a Discord user ID. So we're like, who are you? How can we help you? So we say hi to every single customer that comes into our Discord. After hundreds of times doing it, we get recycled dad jokes a lot on our introductions and stuff like that. But we make sure that every user feels welcome. For commercial users, that we have a Discord group. We call it the Build Guild. So it's just a Discord channel that's private to these users, but without sharing, trade secrets of their business and giving away uniqueness that of their own business. Folks are in here. They're helping each other out on everything from tips and tricks on Amazon on how to make sure that your stuff doesn't get taken down or listed effectively or ads effectively, to we have a few folks that are opening brick and mortar stores now, and just like, make sure you have HVAC included in your contract, are things that they're talking about in there. So that's a very good focus and something that we're proud of as well. On the technical side that I would like to brag about, I think first and foremost,
the nerd stuff. Give me the juice.
The nerds, right? The nerd stuff is, I think the first thing is something that I can't say definitively, but I have a very strong inkling that we have one of the top 3 most scalable cloud slicing infrastructures on the planet. The way our system works, it's all about configuring your parts with slicer profiles, your printers with slicer profiles, and your materials, and we combine them intelligently at print time. So there's no UI for the slicer, but people are slicing things all the time. Right now, there's 200, 190, it's constantly changing. There's about 200 things job slicing right now at 3 a.m.
Wow.
3:20 a.m. on the East Coast here in the US. It peaks at higher than that, certainly on the weekends and stuff like that when there's lots of printing going on. But we can handle pretty easily 10,000, 20,000 simultaneous job slicing using Bamboo Studio and Orca Slicer. So I think that we're in the top 3 in the world of the scalable cloud slicer infrastructure. The other 2 in that top 3, I think, are probably Bamboo and Prusa. But I don't know, maybe we are actually number 1 because we over-engineered it probably.
Yeah, I would say that comparing the resources available with the results, you might be in line with them at the very least.
Yeah,
who knows? Maybe you'll sell to them the entire engine.
Hey, man, maybe.
No jinxing.
Part of this is also my business partner, who I'm very lucky to be in business with. He's one of the smartest people I know in general, but he's also a father of 3 young kids. So his mindset is like, I have time to sit down and work on this now, and I never, ever, ever want to look at it again. So we're going to over-engineer it so that so that it works and it works well. Never having to look at it again works about 50% of the time.
Which is amazing in software development. That doesn't happen with normal cycles.
There's things that are, there's bugs that were consistently popping up, but there's lots of stuff that just works very, very consistently for us that we're happy for. A few other brag things. I'll give you a few other brag things. I think generally like the slicing workflow that we came up with to save time is really the crux of it more than the technical thing, is because, we treat G-code like artifacts that we cache in the background. So if you use cookie cutters, for example, if they all use the same slicing profile, and you don't have to go slice those files for every printer that you have, for every filament that you have and all this other stuff, you just change the settings once, save it, and the next time you print it to whatever printer, whatever settings, it just uses it. So that's a huge time savings because it lets people concentrate on managing their parts and the settings for them, and not, because what happens is inevitably then folks will either reslice all their parts. Let me do it, 50 different times and upload it and replace the G code in some online system, or they'll just ignore it completely and they'll reslice it every single time, which leads to errors and problems and stuff like that. So it's very much set and forget mindset.
Doesn't the G code change at all between different printers? Like for max speed or for flow rates, or
sure,
it
does.
Chunk of it, not just in the beginning.
Yeah, so that's as we slice it in. The way that Printago works is for each printer, whether it's a P1 or an A1, you'll set a printer profile, and this is just like in Bamboo Studio. You'll set a printer profile for it to use, and you'll also set a default process profile for it to use. Any part though can either select to use that default for the printer it gets assigned to. It can use an embedded 3MF profile if it's a 3MF file, or you can use one of your cloud sync profiles for it. And it's decoupled from the printer. And the same thing goes for the material then. So I can have a 3MF or MF that I set up for a Bamboo X1 to use PLA. And as long as it fits on the bed, I can just zap that part to my A1 Mini and tell it to print it in TPU. And it's very consistent because the final governor for the print speed actually is on the filament profile in the Slick 3R architecture. So there's the max volumetric flow rate. As long as that's set, you'll see even in the Bamboo process settings across the different printers, all those speeds and accelerations are always set the same, and they rely on the max volumetric flow rate to act as a governor to slow those things down when it runs through the slicing engine. So we do the same thing. I've done this plenty of times, and there may be times where
that feels like a very weird trick. Like one of those math things that is not supposed to work, but somehow it just does.
Yeah, it works. And this is actually similar to how Bamboo does it when you print items from Handy, when they slice it on demand. It works very similarly to that. At least that's, certainly what it seems. I haven't seen their code or anything like that. So yeah, that's a super powerful feature, and, saves folks time. And if it doesn't work for you, this is another thing, is that if it doesn't work for you, you can still use G-code. You can upload a G-code 3MF. If it's pre-sliced for a P1S, we'll only ever assign it to P1Ss with a 0.4 nozzle or whatever it was pre-sliced for. But if it's a STL or a 3MF, as long as it fits on the bed and you want to print it to this printer with this material, we let you do it. And it slices it and works. So that's pretty cool. And I think the last thing that I'll say on the brag slide, if I had one, would be my, folks who do CrossFit, there's like the meme of it, how do you know somebody does CrossFit? They'll let you know, right? It's the same for OpenSCAD. I'm a big proponent of OpenSCAD. I use it for a lot of text personalization in items, and that was one of the things that I automated before Printago. And we support OpenSCAD models natively. So you can upload a parametric OpenSCAD file that has parameters in it. When you upload it to Printago, just like the old Thingiverse customizer, we parse the file for variables. So you'll hit print this part, and it'll ask you for the parameters to put in. You can put in your name, a size, whatever the SCAD file calls for. And then we render the STL on demand. And then when it's assigned to a printer, we slice it on demand, and then it prints. So it's complete like model generation automation. And that is not only powerful in and of itself, but that's going to be like, we have this strong foundation of between the slicer and the model generation that we're going to build a lot more tools over in the next year to make things even simpler. So you can do.
Having that OpenSCAD integration means the crazy developers can get to work directly with that. But what is worse or better, depending on your perspective, is OpenSCAD can be generated with AI relatively easy.
Yeah, it sure can. Yep. And this is something that we help users with too. Just yesterday, a user came in to Discord and they had some SKUs that they make, which are text with, extruded text that they print out, name tags and things like this. And my first comment was, are you using OpenSCAD? If you're not using OpenSCAD, let me help you. So they, in like 2 sentences, they described how their parts, look. They're like, yeah, I have this size. I have this hole in it here. I have this, that. And about 30 minutes later, I said, okay, here's your OpenSCAD part. I've just turned all the modeling that you're doing in, if you're doing it in Bamboo Studio, just typing the text in. Now it's just data entry. Painting it, you don't have to paint it anymore because we support ColorSCAD. The same way you can map colors in a 3MF file, you can map them in the OpenSCAD file. So you can just say the text is red, the base is blue, and with our order system coming, a customer can type in or select red or blue or whatever it is as an option. And we'll have a way to pass that right through the OpenSCAD file, right to the order in Printago, right through the queue. So direct, enter your name and the colors you want, and it assigns it to the printer with the right materials automatically and prints it. So this is really the power of the workflow.
Yeah, that's automating any custom Shopify store, just done.
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
I still remember you showing me the cookie cutter generation and the generated files, and it's just generating hundreds of them per day.
Yep.
That is beyond, doesn't matter how productive you have or how many engineers you're hiring. It just doesn't compare.
Yep. Even, another great use case for it, especially Bamboo came out with the TPU for AMS, is phone cases, right? If you find a generic, iPhone 14 3D model, I have a phone case creator that lets you choose a font. It lets you choose an inlay color, case color, a font color, an outline size for how thick the outline of the text should be, the outline color, the text color, and then it just generates it, and then that's it. So that's a great use case for it. What else? I also do things where I'll, using OpenSCAD, it's great because for our personal stuff, this isn't part of Printago just yet, but if I have anything based on an SVG file or a DXF flat file, I resize it using Python to 100 millimeters in the longest dimension. And that way, when I import it into OpenSCAD, I know exactly if a customer wants it in 3 inches or 3.5 inches. Now that's just because I know I'm always starting with 100 millimeters, so I can just adjust it easily. So sizing is another thing that you can easily do. People, lay out plates. You can lay out a whole plate of parts, UPC codes, anything you can do. We have all the best published OpenSCAD libraries are also accessible directly in Printago. So you can upload. Wow. Yeah. So when you upload a SCAD file, if there's any include SCAD files that are included as library, it prompts you for them. If there's fonts, it prompts you for them. Or STL, you can modify STLs, DXF, so it'll prompt you to upload those parts. But you can also just use like Basel or Basel 2, all these OpenSCAD libraries. We have them built into a special directory that you can just access them in Printago.
On the technical side, this is just straight up honey. This is just directly from the beehive, just chugging honey directly.
We're nerds, right? We're like, I think I made this joke the last time we talked is like when it's a disease, it's the engineering disease. You're like, I don't want to click that button over and over again. Instead, I'll spend years of my life writing software so I never have to click that button again.
And you only had to click it like 5 more times anyway.
Exactly. Can't be.
Oh, God.
So, we have a lot of fun doing this stuff.
Where do most of your customers come from?
So far, I would say that generally I need to do a better job of marketing because that's on my plate and I don't do enough.
We heard from you from a recommendation. We did not find you.
Word of mouth is my favorite thing then. There's a few ways that people have found us so far. One is YouTube. We haven't put out much content, but one of our earliest users, the dog's walking behind me, one of our earliest users from before we launched our monetization, his company is called Voxelite. I'll mention him real quickly for his sake. He worked with Scott Ujan. I think a lot of people know Scott Ujan. And he made a video when they were making some stuff and selling some stuff, and Scott made a video on it. And in that video, just in some B-roll, it panned across his tablet or computer screen and it showed Printago. And there was no mention of us in the video. There was no plug. There was nothing like that. But there was like hundreds of people that paused the video, looked at the software, Googled us, found us, and then we were like, we saw you in the Scott Ujan video. I'm like, that's amazing. You guys all paused it. So we had a big surge from that. False alarm. It's okay, guys. Here, have a treat. Sorry. We also, back in February or March, we sponsored a video from Factorian Designs, Valerian from Factorian Designs. He did a video on one automation, and that was a great surge in users that we saw from that. We're still getting users coming in from that video as well. And I think 3D Farmers.
Both of those videos were like millions of views, right? Or dozens of millions, if I remember.
They both have lots of views. I don't know exactly. But the 3D Farmers is another one that
Okay.
without us prompting anything, he's I think going to be doing a bake off pretty soon between us and some of the competitors that were around before us. So no sponsorship there. So we just have our fingers crossed. And we got a lot of customers from Reddit as well. When I do Reddit posts of screenshots and stuff like that, we get a good influx of users when I do those things. I should do them more often.
How do you deal with the workload, like with having so many different tasks, like marketing, outreach, managing who mentions you in a video and you get another influx, development, talking with clients?
Yeah, so the breakdown, there's always a lot to do, right? I think
You're like, how do you manage?
I wish somebody would automate that, right? The breakdown is effectively that I mentioned Noah, my business partner. He's the engineer's engineer. So he'll handle the complex stuff like software and cloud infrastructure. He makes all the calls on our tech stack. He's effectively CTO. And he implements the most critical pieces of stuff. I get involved in development in doing proof of concept work. Like, hey, I wired up this Etsy API. It works for me. And then hand it off to him to actually make it work for, all the tenants. As an example. Or I'll handle other isolated features like folders and things like that in the system. But then other than that, it's just kind of take it as it comes between, okay, today I'm going to work on a video. Today we're going to work on this other soft stuff. Documentation needs to get written. That's another one that falls on my plate, documentation writing and marketing and such like that. So that's kind of the breakdown of how we take stuff on. And it's just two of us. We're day by day, we take it and we try not to stress over how much does or doesn't get done on any certain day. Sometimes we stress more about it. Sometimes we stress less about it. But,
there is always more to be done. Yeah.
There's always more to be done. Yeah. And every time that we talk on the phone, we are like, inevitably, like one of us will be in the car or, I'll be out walking the dogs or something. And in these times when we're talking, we're just coming up with new stuff. It's not like we're talking about what this stuff that we need to do. It's always, we should add, we should do this, we should do that, we should do this. So we're always creating more work for ourselves.
Yeah, the backlog doesn't get smaller ever. It just grows.
Yeah, we're our architects of our own demise when it comes to scope create.
Out of all the tasks, which are hundreds, as we all know, what do you enjoy the most and what do you enjoy the least?
That's a good question. I think the stuff I enjoy the most is talking to customers and doing development for me personally. Even though I don't do the complex stuff, those are the things I gravitate to is the technical things and working with, we call it hand-to-hand combat from our consulting experience. Because, when we're consulting, it's, individual customers and individual, working with people and relationships and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And for me, probably my least favorite stuff is making YouTube videos and scripts for them and coming up with, even if they're YouTube shorts, I have this problem getting started. Okay. And then I want to overcomplicate it. And now, it's too long to be a YouTube short now. Now it's describing half the system. So
the creative process is annoying.
Yeah. I think that's where I struggle the most.
And the video cannot be as perfect as software, right? It needs all these different things and you have to be fine with as it is. You can just recode everything, and I am very familiar with this problem.
The last one I made, I need to make more like this because I followed a formula. I think instead of like reading a script, I went and I bought an AI voice and I read to it for like 3 hours. I just read and read and read and read in my own voice. And now I can type stuff in and my own mother can't differentiate whether it's my voice or the AI voice. I
need to steal that.
I think it's 11 Labs is what, or you want to steal the one with my voice. That would be easier than talking to me for sure.
I want both. Now I want both.
And I did some, what else did I put in? Oh yeah, I did some AI video character for when it was me. It wasn't actually me. It was like an AI 3D printed me that I tried to make. And then one of our users made like a Printago song using one of these song things. So I had that going at the end, like full with like relevant lyrics and everything. It's really amazing what this stuff can do now.
How has Printago's direction changed? Because in some scenarios, the companies completely changed from how they started to how they are. But with you, it feels like the first goal was achieved and then you're achieving the secondary goals after that. Like it's still the same direction?
Yeah. I think fundamentally it hasn't really changed. We had a vision and we're still building against that vision, right? But we're always learning and shifting slightly. I think we recently started building features as add-ons, as monetized add-ons. So now with our core platform built and these things being out there, we could say, okay, we'll make this add-on and that add-on, and we'll be able to add third-party add-ons, for example, where folks can come in and build software against our API, which we have a full API as well. I don't think I mentioned that, but the entire API we use.
That's an important part.
People love the API, right? That was especially with AI and what you can do now too. So the entire API, including MQTT real-time notifications of printer status over WebSocket, over MQTT, everything that we use to build app.printago.io, you as a user have access to for your own tenant, for your own Printago store. So we have a lot of users that can't wait for us to build things. They're like, give me that API and I'll just build my own, right? Which is great because a lot of those things have also educated us. Somebody, hey, look, I built a compact dashboard because I had so many more printers, and here's how it gives me information, right? That's pretty good. So we built a compact version of the dashboard. We kind of just...
Exactly. You just get educated by whatever the user needs.
Yeah. And to that end, I think that's where one way that we can change is by allowing third-party add-ons, by allowing, embracing the nerd community, if you will. Instead of us building that dashboard, let one of our users monetize the dashboard that they built on it. Other people can buy it. We'll take a little bit of money and we'll pass the rest off to the person who created it. And all of a sudden we have, a meaningful platform that many people can participate in. We even have one of our users has already built an ESP32 based, it's a button for each printer. In big manufacturing plants, you'll see machinery with tower lights on top of the machines. To show the status of them. This shows the status on a little LED strip, and you press the button to mark the printer as clear and ready. So when a job finishes, if you don't have it set on our continuous mode, it waits to be told, okay, the printer's ready for another job. You just press the button and it will send the next job in the queue that it can accept. So he made that already. So I'm hoping to integrate that as like a 1.5 party integration in the near future.
That's something that our farm will need in the next 2 weeks when we bring in other people to help us with the production stuff. That is crazy useful because they don't need to enter in a computer. They don't need to find the printer. They just press a button and that's it. They've cleared the printer.
Yep. And Printago also does work as a progressive web app. You can install it on iPad or Android tablets. So we have a lot of users that have it installed on tablets that they give their employees to walk around the farm, or they have it mounted to a rack because that's convenient as well.
I've seen with one of our clients, they have a tablet up on the wall with all the printers and their status. That's how we first encountered your name.
Yeah, I love people that get the TV up, like the TV dashboard up on there too, because
Exactly.
Like seeing that is meaningful for us because I've seen those types of things in like companies that have like, a lot of manufacturing going, like industrial scale manufacturing, and to see it in use, having our software up on the wall is validating.
It's heartwarming. It validates your idea, your efforts, your everything.
We don't charge for that. We don't charge per printer. So you can connect unlimited printers to us. That's not how we monetize, actually. So if somebody is a hobbyist user, or even if they're a commercial user, they can dashboard 100 printers and only pay for one production slot. We only charge on our commercial plans based on the number of simultaneous jobs that are running from our queue to the printers.
Yeah, which is crazy helpful. They can have 50 printers, but if only 5 are running with the slicer, then only 5 slots are used.
Yep. You pay for the demand that you have in your business.
Which is a very big improvement from a business standpoint, because with American companies, you would expect just a SaaS model. Every single printer that you have, just give me money. So it really shows the support to the community that you provide.
And I mean, that's how a lot of our competitors price it on like if you connect a printer, you pay for the printer. But really, we think like there's more value than that. If we charge per printer, then we're always going to be in this space of like the software is like, it's like IT software to manage your network of 3D printers. But if we get away from that into monetizing other things that are tied to e-commerce more, now we open it up to a lot more, and we lower that priority on, or that reliance on, we make more money the bigger you grow your farm. It doesn't have to necessarily be.
Yeah, and you drop the barrier to entry for the small farms, right? Because they might have 10 printers, but they are only running actively 2 or 3 of them because they haven't scaled their shop yet, which is weirdly often the case, at least in our experience.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen that even with my own printers. Like we bought, a bunch of them to test. We have 7 P1s, an X1, and 2 minis. Rarely are they all going. They're all loaded with different materials should they need it, right? But, so if you only need to have 2 simultaneous jobs running from our queue, then you only pay for 2 slots.
Let me throw you a curveball. What would be the biggest lesson you've learned the hard way? So what's the biggest failure that you had to learn from?
In general, I would say, like generally speaking, I think our last business, consulting business, really taught us don't put ourselves in a position to learn big lessons the hard way, right?
Which is an experience to have.
Like nobody minds, you can learn lots of small lessons that don't hurt in the wallet too much, as long as you learn from them, right? I think, so the biggest lessons overall in business that I would say that, we're still learning is when to say no, when to push back on stuff. And generally speaking, when you're entering into a business engagement with someone, get the contract in writing and make sure it's clear for all parties of who's doing what, when you're getting paid, and don't wait till the end of a contract to get paid. You can structure contracts in baby steps that, define milestones that let you get paid in tranches as you deliver parts of a project. So that's pretty general. I think otherwise, we haven't learned very many hard lessons with Printago. I would say the hardest stuff to do, though, is for us to take small steps and listen to the users, even when it's hard, even when it's not what we want to do. And if somebody calls your baby ugly, you can't get mad at it, because at the end of the day, that's a person who cares enough about the software, a person that cares enough about what we're doing to say, like, this sucks. You got to improve this. So even when it's hard to hear, you got to hear it. I can't say that.
And the product needs to change with the user. It doesn't need to be the perfect thing in your mind. It needs to be the perfect thing for the users.
For the user, for the market, for the demand that exists. And you can't. Here's another one. As I think about it more now, is it's very hard. You can't change too many behaviors at once, right? You can't have the user. Even this has been hard for us as I talk about the power of the automatic slicing and all these things. It's very powerful, very time saving, but it also takes some explanation because people don't believe that it actually will work like this. So we've almost created a barrier for ourselves that people are like, I don't want to use it that way. That doesn't work for me. I just want to use my slice G code. So there was a while at first where we didn't even support G code. We're like, no G code. We don't do that here, blah, blah, blah. Right. But no. Everybody runs their business differently. And some people need the G code. Sometimes the slicer is going to do something weird that we haven't anticipated. So upload the G code file. So those types of things, I think, are maybe the hardest lessons that we've learned, or the biggest lessons that we've learned so far in Printago.
Which are actually extremely valuable because you only learn those lessons after you hit a certain dimension and age and experience. So for the newbie programmers, this is very valuable. What can you say about the upcoming features of Printago, or stuff that is not announced or just barely announced that you can share, of course?
Sure. So some of this I've touched on a little bit. So tighter retail integration across things that Shopify and Etsy are going to come down the pipe.
I've also heard about integrations with other printers other than Bamboo.
Yeah, that's another thing that's coming up on our roadmap. So we're doing a marketing giveaway. We've pre-ordered 4 SnapMaker U1 tool changers, and we're giving away 3 of them. There's details on our website and in the app about how to join and there's no purchase necessary and all the stuff for legal purposes. But But we're going to be giving 3 of those away, and we're going to be launching our land client by the end of the year that'll support Clipper, and it'll support the Bamboo models in land mode, dev mode with the newer firmware and the H series models. So those are things that are coming very, very soon. And because of the work that my partner has done on our order system, which is very robust to handle a lot of stuff, it's making the retail integrations like Shopify and Etsy and ShipStation and Shippo, eBay, it's making those go very smoothly and quickly for us because our underlying order system is able to handle all these use cases.
Yeah, because you've built it out of concrete as if it would be just, instead of making a raft out of wood, you just made everything from the get-go and then placed a tent on top of the huge foundation.
That's kind of it. We have a very big foundation, and we're now growing the building from it. I think one other thing that's coming down the pipe that talks exactly to that foundation that's exciting is print on demand. So we have our Shopify app that's going to come out, and that's going to be in the Shopify app store that you'll download it, and it'll connect to your Printago and allow you to pipe orders from Shopify in, and it'll give you status updates in Printago directly in Shopify, how many parts or SKUs are done printed. But we're going to have a different app for print on demand, which I know is a very hot topic right now for a lot of people. So if you think about our foundation, we have the auto slicer that handles a lot of these things. Configuration, we're going to build a Shopify app that will let you inject a print on demand listing onto your Shopify site. And then your customers can upload an STL, they can upload a step file, or they can upload a 3MF file. If they can choose settings that you choose for slicing ahead of time, good, better, best. Or if they want to set it up in detail with small layer heights and lots of infill or whatever they want in a 3MF file, they can have it sliced and manufactured exactly to their specifications. They upload it, we slice it on demand in the background, and we use the information in Printago that you set up to generate an automatic quote. If they accept the quote, the order goes into the system, you as a user approve the order, out it prints, and away you go.
That's going to be amazing for print farms that have just the print services as the main thing.
That's what we're hoping for. I know there's some folks out in the market that are really pounding out their own service and their own print farms to do things on demand and telling folks, don't do it yourself. Don't build a print farm. Let us do that. But I think a lot of people don't want that. They want to have control over their own product, and they want to make sure that the quality is there, especially when they're starting out. It's important to folks, right? Like, this is how I designed it, and I want to make sure that my customers are getting exactly what I tell them.
Yeah.
I think that'll be really, really good. And even for, as you said, print farmers to be able to take 3MFs from people and say, I can produce it exactly the way you want. These are your settings. That's how I'll print it.
I cannot wait to see that on the market.
Thank you. Thank you.
I already know a couple of use cases where I will just send them the link and just tell them, stop building your stuff that you have to fix a lot of bugs. Just use them. They are known, they are trusted. Just do this so you can actually take care of the printers, not just the software side. Because the software side, usually for the small print farms, doesn't generate revenue directly.
Right. And I think, this is not even unique to 3D printing. As a consultant, this is stuff that we've seen throughout our career. We've worked with companies that service and install petrol gas stations, and they're out here rolling their own solutions for CRM or rolling their own ERP. And it's like, guys, are you in the software business? Like, no, we're in the whatever business. Great. Stop making software. You don't know what you're doing. Not to say you don't know what you're doing. That's not correct. But there's
it's not false either.
To do it well, there's a lot of hidden costs.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, once it's done, it'll be done, says the executive, right? And I'm like, no, it won't. It's never done. Because you have some Facebook integration, they're going to change something. You're going to have to hire some other developer if you fire the one that you have now. And then he's going to want to rewrite everything. I'm like, you're opening cans of worms that you don't even just slow down and think about it a little bit. Yeah, not to say that anybody shouldn't develop software, and I wouldn't discourage anybody from doing that, but to do it at a level of like resiliency and production quality, and it's an ongoing fight.
On that topic, for the software engineers that want to move into 3D printing, do you have any advice for them just starting out?
Yes. I think a few things. If you're building software and you're building software for 3D printing, the 3D printing community this is kind of generic advice, is to gauge interest and participate in communities. People will sometimes say, yeah, that would be great. I would love to have that. But that doesn't always translate to them paying money for it if that's your plan either. So you have to do your due diligence, and doing the due diligence and being sure of it, it's kind of a tightrope, right? You want to make sure that you have real and valid feedback of what you're doing, but you also can't get too ahead of yourself if you don't have real software yet. So doing a validation, there's some folks on YouTube that I think do a very good job of this, about talking about things that they have or things that are coming that they don't necessarily exist in the way that they've laid it out yet, but they can really gauge interest by the amount of community engagement that they get from YouTube. So I think that that's a great way to handle that. I should drink my own Kool-Aid more on that one. The other one I think is something that engineers tend to do, which is if you're building software as a business and you're building it, you got to solve the problems that need to be solved. There's going to be problems that you believe that you can solve, that you are low-hanging fruit, that you know how to solve, and you're going to migrate to those first. But if there's stuff that's outside your comfort zone, that's probably the stuff that you should be working on first. Guys, stop it.
They want to be in the video as well.
Yes, chill out. Go over there and lay down. Sorry. So yeah, that's the stuff that you're not comfortable with, that you want to postpone, that you want to procrastinate. That's the stuff you should be doing now, and you should be doing first, because you're going to suck at it and you need to iterate on it and you need to get comfortable with it. So, again, those are maybe lessons that I should take myself and learn harder, is to do the things I don't want to do.
We all should. That's a secret. Are there any software that you wish you'd see on the market that Printago won't touch anytime soon that you can share? Like stuff that is definitely an opportunity in the community and that Printago doesn't have the time or the direction to take care of.
Sure. There's one thing, and I've tried a few times in the Orca Slicer Discord to see if there was any interest in this. I think as time goes by, the desktop slicers are going to have to go away eventually, and they're going to have to move to the web. It's just they're very heavy applications right now. They're very memory intense, and they do a lot. There's OpenGL and a lot of stuff going on there. I think some of our competitors have built web front ends for the CLI command line backends for the slicer. I would love to see the community create something like that, a web version of the front end of Orca or Bamboo Studio that doesn't require a lot of horsepower, a powerful machine. I've seen some customers, some users that have like 10 copies of Bamboo Studio open. I'm like, oh my God, do you have like a terabyte of RAM? These things, like, they use so much memory. I sometimes cringe when I have to have a few of them open, because they're very intense. Not to say that they're bad software or anything like that. I just think that as time moves forward, it's intensive. And the software, the underlying Slick 3R infrastructure, and Cura for that matter, they have their full separate client server, backends. Like we use the CLI version of the slicer. All that stuff is separate from the GUI project inside these C++ projects. So that's something that we have no intention of touching, but we would certainly, if there was something that we can utilize and add to the product, that we would take it and make it part of ours, but not something that we would necessarily touch ourselves.
Yeah, because that means overhauling the entire structure and architecture of how slicers are using right now and how they work, to bring them to modern era and modern CPUs and the current advantages like parallelization properly. Yeah,
and I think it's, you can take and write a web front end for Orca or Bamboo Studio pretty easily to do simple things. Add the model, add your slicer settings, do this. It's when you add the modifiers and the paint on supports and it's when you start adding all those things that doing a web implementation gets don't pay him any attention. He's my sidekick. It gets those are the things that both make the C++, the desktop slicers, heavy, and those are also the things that would make a web implementation complex, is the things that are actually things that people need to use. Which is why we remain headless, because we're like, there's no way we're going to get you completely out of the desktop slicer. We just don't want you to live in it. We want you to set your part up and then close it and be done with it,
Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely the one thing that I think that we would not. Everything else is always a maybe.
Yeah, that's the advantage of being a software company, right?
Yeah, sure. It can
Once
do
you see
that.
an opportunity, you can just jump on it, test it out, push out an MVP, see what happens, and then move on from there.
Another thing, just thinking of it now as we're talking through it, another thing that I would really love to see is open source software for similar to like slicer software and the slicer, kind of models that we have now for CNC machines, for desktop plotter cutters, the blade cutters and stuff like that, because we'd love to control those things as well. There's mixed media is such a cool thing, and that increases as far as us being commercial software for commercial sellers. Combining 3D printing with other mediums, really powerful. And if we can control those types of machines as well, that would be dope.
It's going to be fun to be a designer and developer and just general nerd in the next couple of years. Because this will come out eventually. Like somebody is probably building them right now.
Yeah, I think, and like the rate at which things are democratized too. It's always hard to see, in a short term, but like 5 years ago, before Bamboo came out, right, with their printers, like the thought, I always, I was a Prusa user. I still am a Prusa user, but like the thought of being able to do PPA, CF, nylon, like I was like, I'd really like to get into nylon. But then you start looking at it with a bed slinger without an enclosure, and it's like, this is really tough.
There is a reason this isn't there. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a reason why there's not more people doing it. And now all of a sudden it's commonplace. You just buy a roll of this stuff that sounds like metal or ceramic after it's printed, and out it comes flawlessly, right? So I think that democratization and without getting into what Bamboo is or isn't doing, I do think that they're pushing the limits of what can change, which is one thing that I think is fantastic.
If you had to advise somebody that wants to do something in 3D printing, would you advise them to go into developing some software, selling designs, or being a print farm, or maybe even just buying designs and selling them for other systems?
I think, as I sit here, knowing how hard the software is and seeing how much money
you
money
cannot recommend your own pain, yeah.
I think going into the print, and obviously it's we have print farm software, so I'm going to say, hey, you should start a print farm kind of thing, right? But really, I think that is a great business to get into. I think the best thing to do is to hedge. And by that, I mean, come up with your own designs for stuff, buy some designs, market them, and then also offer a print farm service. You don't have to have, again, like I was saying, solve the problems that you need to solve for your business. Don't get sidelined by, oh my gosh, I can't build this business until I have this and this and this automated. No, you can put, come on, Penny. You can put, hang on, in the yard. I was saying print farm service. You can put an ad out. You can put the word out on Reddit. You can say, hey, I can make stuff for you. Do you have too many orders? I can make them for you. You can do all this stuff without software automation. You can start making money. Once you're making money, it becomes easier to build the systems around them as you need them. You don't have to do everything reactively and always be behind the curve, but do multiple things to make money in your print farmers and keep them busy, right? That's the real trick, is keeping as many printers as you can busy as often, keeping them busy. Utilization, right? If they're not,
which is tricky.
It is tricky. It is tricky. But I think having worked in sales and owning, the other business and stuff like that as well, is there is the money you don't make today, you don't make it back tomorrow. That's just tomorrow's money. Today, the money you didn't make, you can never make. It's in the past now. You failed to make that money. So
that is a literal saying of my co-founder, and it hits home.
You make what you make today, and that's it, right? So do the things, and I think that's, you don't have to do everything 100% either, right? Like, or 110%. Not to say that you shouldn't put everything into it, but you can sell a few things on an Etsy store, right? And if it makes you $150 a month or $200 a month, okay, guess what? Now you have the Etsy store set up. You can revisit it and make it better and add stuff to it later. And then you can go do and put some ads out for your print farm service. So you can go, I guess, to be a nerd about it, you can go breadth first instead of depth first on different business activities, right?
Correct. Because you only need the first node. The first node is always the hardest. Once the first node is set up, the rest is much easier.
Yeah. And also, find what works for you, right? You got to find what works for you. It's not always what's comfortable for you, but there'll be something that works for you. And it's something different for everyone. And there's no prescribed way, just like many things, it's like, this is the way you should do it, and you should do it this way because it works for me. You should do it this way too. That's all. Nobody likes to hear those things usually. And like, it's oftentimes not true, right?
Yeah.
It's good. Hey, that worked for you. I don't think it's going to work for me. I appreciate the input though. And I try to be that way as well, is to not be so prescriptive and kind of, hey, there's multiple ways to go about this. You got to find your path.
Yeah. And it is what we've seen with our own clients. Every single region has different things that work, different preferences from their own clients and customers, different pricing, even just for the filament and the printers.
Sure.
That cascades into every aspect of the business. Something that works in Europe doesn't necessarily work in the US.
And different levels of even pervasiveness of 3D printing, like consumers' ability to, not ability, but their willingness to accept a 3D printed product, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, as 3D printers, if we sell something and somebody gives it a 1-star review and says it's 3D printed junk, we hate to see that. Right. And the answer, usually, what do we say? We're like, well, the injection molded stuff doesn't say injection molded on the sale listing. Why do I have to say it's 3D printed? Right. And you shouldn't have to. The market just is going to get used to seeing 3D printed stuff, especially as the technology gets better too. It's going to be less. Is this even 3D printed?
Plus, only 3D printing nerds care if it's 3D printed. Nobody else does. Nobody else that I've ever talked to. So no end customer actually cares about the little lines. They are just going to consider it as part of the design aspect of it. At least that has been my experience with many customers.
Yeah, that is an excellent point.
Only nerds will say, no, I don't buy that. It's cheap. It's 3D printed. You're the only person that knows or cares about that.
That's true. That's true. One of our, and to talk to pervasiveness of 3D printing in the US. I won't mention names on this one because I don't know the confidentiality and stuff on it. There's one of our Printago users. He reached out to a company that does at-home blood testing because he had to do some, I believe, and they sent him a little vial, a little plastic thing to send it back to that was 3D printed. So he reached out to them and said, hey, I can make these. I can have some ideas to improve your design, and I can make them this many per month for you. And he got the deal. So there's also
that's a gorgeous story. Yeah.
Yeah. This young man in particular is very, very driven. He's very on the ball, and he wins stuff like that. And I'm happy that he's in our network.
That's amazing. We're probably going to have to stop. Otherwise the YouTube video is going to be like 3 hours long. All right. Thank you for watching. This has been the interview with our colleagues from Printago. If you have any questions, shoot them down in the comments. And if you have any recommendations for who to interview next, just send us a message. Thank you for watching. Bye.